The Roman Labyrinth, Chapter 4. Minimal Risk Operation. I will be good. To Baroness Lehzen, 1830. Martin, the Prince Consort. 2007, September 2, Moscow, early in the morning. I want you to find and explore this. The general pushed toward Anna a photographic copy of an ancient drawing resembling a sophisticated maze. It was decorated on the outside with the colorful graphic symbols and images of griffins. At the center of the drawing was a spacious square with a depiction of a red monster. What is it? Anna looked at the drawing skeptically. It's a maze, the general said. I don't understand. Anna shook her head. What does my department have to do with a maze? The general pierced Anna with his cold eyes. I'm sending you because I believe you are the only person, at least the only person I know, fit for this task. You are a bright mathematician and a stunning woman. A rare combination, I must admit. Don't argue with me, the general said, as Anna was trying to object. According to the information I have, there is a maze, a network of passages underneath a certain strategic area of Vatican Hill. The underground passages cover the area where informational institutions are situated. An underground access to those institutions will provide us with the kind of information that nobody dreamed of before. Anna held her breath. The Vatican had an outstanding digital shield, and mostly was using a closed circuit of a network that nobody was able to penetrate yet. The general decided to finally break this protective shell, or at least find a breach. Anna had no doubt that the success of an operation like this would signify the beginning of an informational revolution. But what did she have to do with it? The general picked up an Italian newspaper from his desk and pushed it toward Anna. Read this. The headline of the newsletter cried, Jack the Ripper strikes in Rome. Anna looked at the picture of the thin man with a tiresome, fearful face, and two policemen behind. The drawing from the courtroom picturing the moment when the sentence was read. She glanced at the headings. August 1997, 10 years ago. The newspaper report that Anna was now reading covered in retrospect a scandalous case of a blood-chilling ritualistic murder. Hadrian Farah, professor of history of architecture from one of the leading Roman universities, stabbed a female student, his girlfriend, in a fashion of ancient pagan sacrifice. The victim was 21-year-old Roberta Giordani, the professor's student and passionate admirer. When Roberta didn't come home for the night on May 15, 1997, and didn't show up at the university the following day, although it was her exam week, her parents feared the worst, and they called the police. Along with other things, the parents reported about Roberta's relationship with Hadrian, the one they definitely disapproved of because by that time Professor Farah had already lost his job and had a reputation as a nut, obsessed with some weird ideas. The professor was arrested the same day. As the police searched through his apartment, they found his clothes all covered with blood. They also found a table knife with blood stains. The books were found on Professor Farah's desk with scenes of ritualistic sacrifices and with notes in the margins of those books made by his own hand. The question now was, what happened to the body? Without the body, neither the knife nor the blood, the experts confirmed it was Roberta's blood, really proved anything. Professor Farah claimed he didn't know anything about Roberta's disappearance. After 3 days in jail, however, he broke down and took the police to the catacombs on the western side of the Tiber River. He led the police right to the dreadful subterranean shrine where the bloody scene had taken place and where the mutilated dead body was found. It was a shrine, Professor Farah later confessed, that was used in the past by the ancient cults for making human sacrifices. His former colleagues testified that lately he had become infatuated with the studying of ancient cults and symbols. Eventually it built up to a phobia, drove him insane, and made a murderer out of him. He was sentenced to 19 years in jail, but later on the sentence was changed to 10 years in a secured mental hospital. Anna finished reading and put the newspaper down. "Why did you want me to read this?" she asked. The general lit another cigarette. "Medical experts pronounced Professor Farah mentally ill," he said. "Whatever the whole truth about him is, we will probably never find out," the general continued. "I don't even need to know the truth. I don't have time for it. What I do need, however, is this man's expertise on the catacombs on the western side of the Tiber River. Hadrian Farah seems to have an extensive knowledge of the catacombs, yet he never speaks of it, never mentions it in his publications." The general opened one of his drawers, took out a book, and pushed it toward Anna. "That's his book on the history of Roman architecture. Study it carefully before you meet the professor." Anna stared at the book. For a moment she thought it was a joke. Years ago she was recruited by the general on April Fool's Day. Today was a day celebrated in Russia as the Day of Knowledge, the first day of school. Maybe the general was making fun of her? But Anna knew that the general didn't have a sense of humor, or if he had one, he kept it to himself. Hadrian Farah had been released from the mental institution 3 years ago and now makes his living giving occasional guided tours through Rome, the general continued. "You will hire him as a personal tour guide. The task will be to find an entrance and make a map of the catacombs where this murder took place." "Why me?" Anna's voice betrayed how shocked she was. "Don't you have regular agents?" "Our regular agents, as you call them, would be of no use here. Professor Farah is way too eccentric for them to handle. Also, he's very vulnerable and suspicious. He needs somebody like you to talk to." "But what makes you think that, Igor Semyonovich?" Anna couldn't restrain her plea. "Our entire department is a civilian one. I haven't been trained in interrogation or psychology or spying. I hope you are not trying to turn me into a sort of James Bond movie spy," Anna continued in spite of the general's stabbing look. "Because if you are, Igor Semyonovich, you are wasting your time. I am not a superwoman, nor am I in any rush to seduce this maniac professor in order to search through his papers. I know nothing of architecture or the underground. Why do you want me to befriend this monster?" "Don't you need me anymore, Igor Semyonovich?" "He's not a monster," the general pronounced coldly. "He's a smart, cultured man. He's been released after 7 years, and the doctors believe he's not a danger to society anymore." "Why me?" The general took a photo out of the drawer and pushed it toward Anna. "The girl that was killed happened to have red hair, and even your appearance resembles hers," he said. Anna took the picture carefully and slowly turned it around, the way the card player would turn his last card to see if he lost or won a fortune. A young red-headed woman, probably in her early 20s, was smiling at someone holding the camera. Anna thought she could see in the girl's features a child full of fascination and curiosity, charm and playfulness. From the first look, the girl's appearance didn't seem to strikingly resemble Anna's. However, the more Anna looked at the picture, the more she thought she was looking at her own image, only taken in some other life, in some other girl's body. She put the picture down. Now Anna started to vaguely understand it. The general wanted her to serve as an enticement in some sophisticated mind trap that the firm had prepared for the professor, the butcher. Our specialists in psychoanalysis believe, the general confirmed her guess, that the psychological impact that you'll have on Professor Farah might trigger his self-disclosure. Everyone needs to share his or her secrets with someone. Or that's what people believe. There'll be many factors, many psychological mechanisms at work. You will read and study it. It's in your file. Also, you'll be consulted by our specialists when needed. And what kind of self-disclosure are you expecting of this professor? Anna asked. Professor Farah knows the maze. If everything goes according to our plan, he'll take you there. Anna couldn't believe what she just heard. What for? She asked. The whole thing seemed to her too gross to be true. There could be different, nearly opposite reasons, and anything else in between. He brought the police to the catacombs because he was remorseful. And he brought the red-headed girl for a slaughter. Anna finished the sentence. In other words, you are sending your digital playwright, the departmental pride, to die in the dirty Roman underground, sacrificed to pagan gods by some sexual pervert. Sounds like a good plan, a brilliant perspective for a young specialist. Anna hardly ever spoke like this to the general. However, the circumstances were also rather exceptional. You are right, Anna. You are too valuable of a specialist for me to lose. The general looked at her impatiently. That's why I made sure it's a minimal risk operation. First, you are to locate the entrance. The professor won't force you in. Later on, we'll have our people in the catacombs to make sure you are safe as you go deeper into it, toward the maze. You'll have a gun, too, and this watch. The general pushed toward Anna a little box with a golden lady's Rolex. It has a built-in radio transmitter and tracking system. You are to wear it all the time you are with the professor. We'll have our agents in Rome follow you at a safe distance. They'll keep an eye on the professor, too. Anna's stormy feelings were now calmed a little. We'll be proceeding in baby steps, the general continued, as he watched Anna's reaction with satisfaction. Your primary job is to win the professor's confidence. How do I hire him? Anna inquired in a reconciling manner after a moment of consideration. She now figured there was nothing in the world that would stop the general from pursuing his plan, no matter how strange it seemed to be. The general nodded as he accepted Anna's submission. You'll offer him 3,000 euros per week. It's a good amount of money for him. You can give him more if he hesitates. Just don't overpay, or else you'll scare him away. Survival, after all, remains the primary human need. But of course, in real life, everything is a mixture. Everything is concealed. You'll have to play it by ear most of the time. Just be around him, Anna, and he'll get you to the answer. We'll try different approaches and see which one is working best. Remember the story of Samson and Delilah. Anna often asked herself the question, what drives this man? Why is he killing himself with work? Is he really dedicated to service so much that he works so tirelessly for years, and as it seems, has no other life but his work? May I ask you something, Igor Semyonovich? He nodded. Why would the professor bring the police to the crime scene? Haven't you read Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment? The general retorted with another question. Of course Anna had read the book. Its main character, Rodion Raskolnikov, for some reason or other kills an old female pawnbroker and her young sister. Justice, in the form of a relentless police officer, closes slowly in on him until in the end he is driven to a confession. One more thing, Igor Semyonovich. Anna took her last chance. Wouldn't it be easier to find out about the entrance from the police? The general looked at her with irony. It was the first thing we attempted, he said. However, it wasn't the police of the city of Rome that was involved in this investigation. Vatican City is an independent city-state, and the catacombs are the jurisdiction of the Pontifical Commission for Sacred Archaeology, headed by no other but the Pope. The Vatican had its own secret police to investigate the case, and neither information of the maze nor of the shrine for a sacrifice had been revealed to the public. Pictures from the City of Rome Police Department of the crime scene were all taken to the archive of the Vatican City Police. All our attempts to extract any information, or even to find who was involved in the investigation, proved to be futile. Professor Farah is our only link to the underground maze. You'll find more information about the case in this dossier. The general pushed toward her a thick folder. Study it carefully. Some say Professor's early release was due to interference by some top Vatican authorities. It is not very plausible because Hadrian doesn't have anybody in the Vatican, and the Vatican was hardly interested in setting a guy like Hadrian free. One scandal was enough for them. You'll find his address and phone number in his file. The general glanced at his watch. I think we've covered all the basics, and I only hope I don't have to remind you of your loyalties. No, he didn't have to. Everybody in the department knew that their families are practically held hostage to the general, and sometimes hostages were killed. Anna loved her mother too much to let something happen to her. When am I going? Anna asked. It was pointless for her to argue. Somewhere deep inside she welcomed such a drastic change. She knew that otherwise her boredom and routine would sooner or later have killed her. She had to recognize the general as an excellent psychologist. In 2 days. Goodbye, Anna. I'll see you in about a month, or even earlier. Goodbye, Igor Semyonovich, Anna said, suppressing her agitation. Walking out of the general's office, down the long corridor, Anna didn't know if she should be rejoicing or weeping. She was scared, but deep inside she welcomed this new beginning. She had this wonderful no school today feeling. Since Anna was close to her office, she decided to stop by. Last night she went home late and left her purse at the office. There was a reason for that. Once, as she was returning home late, a man on the street grabbed her purse, called her a bitch, and ran away. Anna was so terrified by the incident, she didn't even scream. She just stood still wondering how people could do such things to each other. Not wanting to think of it again, whenever she'd stay late at work, she'd always leave her purse behind. Anna entered a spacious hall with a continuous shelf-like desk around the walls. There were phones, keyboards, and flat-screen monitors. Maybe General Smirnov simply wants to get rid of me, Anna thought as she moved along the 15 cubicles toward her office. Also a cubicle made of glass, only bigger and built on a platform. He must have already found somebody else to be the head of my department. Or else, or else, he's making one big mistake. Anna greeted the only person at work at this early hour, Maria Semyonovna, a small elderly woman with a gray ponytail, formerly a professor of chemistry and now a janitor. Her miserable pension is barely enough to survive on, and she cleans the firm's offices with chemicals. Anna always pitied her. She was hoping that her mother would escape such a common destiny of the generations of Russian intelligentsia. Anna picked up her purse and went to the door. There she stopped, turned back, and once more looked at the room where she had spent countless hours, weeks, years of her life. Will she ever be back? Will she ever see her young colleagues again? She walked through the long corridor, past the checkpoint, left the building, crossed the street, and stepped back into the warm belly of the subway, from where she had emerged 1 hour ago.